proposing is the use cases that we should now handle is given a user workbook. We have no role to play. Sheetcraft has no role to play. User workbook, convert it into a useful dashboard. All business cases where this is the problem, this can be addressed with almost no learning curve. There is zero learning curve in this. Number one. Number two is where we have data, and that data is coming onto a sheet, and on that sheet we are using existing tools of Excel, and we basically convert that into a dashboard. This has minimal learning curve because the only new thing that I expect the user would do is use Sheetcraft to get the data. Rest is simple. As a third use case, our goal should be data operations, which is Sheetcraft ops, which is 1, 2, at max 3-step operation, and report, which is dashboard. And as the last step, number 4 is it's a complex setup, complex chain of calculations, and then this is a dashboard. Now picking up this problem first will essentially mean that we would not get user acceptance. So our goal should be to take up these two problems first, build user acceptance, and then come to this problem. I would rank something like what we did for SBI under number 4. This is not going to get accepted pretty soon. Considering that, what I want to propose is, suppose let's take a use case. That would be easy. If we basically have data coming in from 3 sources, let's say I have a UI wherein I have something like add data source. If I click on that button, that opens a screen which basically asks for file type. So I give whether it's an XLS or text or a CSV or whatever database, or then I give the browse location, browse file. Here I give the browse option. He'll go to the folder and select the path, and he'll hit on OK. Now this takes the data structure that is in there and gives the data fields, just the data fields. This is the Tableau model. So if there are this is a table containing 4 fields, this will give X, Y, Z and A, right? This is table 1 or file 1. Now if he adds another source, the same thing will be repeated again all over, and adjacent to that table another new structure will come in. Let's say that is P, Q and R. Now the user wants to pick columns X and Y from file 1 and column Q from file 2 to form something like X, Y and Q. Once he does that, he clicks in this, he'll have a small button there which says create a sample file. Create sample. This will open up a new workbook in which columns A or whatever X, Y and Q will open up in his worksheet with some formula here. That formula he might not worry as of now. He'll go to the next sheet, he'll go to the add pivot in this and create a pivot table. all he needs to do is he needs to change the structure of this Excel file. He needs to basically create a sheet name called inputs, a sheet name called outputs. In the inputs, he'll basically have the file path of the first file, which is file 1, file path of the second file, which is file 2. In the outputs, he dumps the pivot table with some pivot chart. And then there will be a button here which is create dashboard. On clicking that button, a new screen opens up which has something like file 1. There is a browse option here. File 2, there is a browse option here, and then calculate. On calculation, the pivot table comes here, the chart comes here, and that's it. Then he says publish to web. This goes and a URL will be set up, some calculator or something dot HTML, and this will have these two inputs. So essentially what we have done is we have allowed him to create a data source here, select fields from that data source, create a pivot table on that data source, and create a dashboard of that. This whole thing would